Well, good morning, Jason, and once again, thanks for having me on. And well, I wish I could say that there was great news. There's a little bit of good news that I'll talk about in a little bit, but let's give a little update first of all. One thing that's starting today is that we have some new testing, and that's at Tremper from 10 to 6 today and tomorrow. And one thing that's different about this particular testing is that you don't have to have any symptoms to get tested. So if you're interested about your status, it's probably worth going out and taking a test. And one of the reasons why it may be interesting for it's good to know for a lot of people is that 26% of the people who have COVID are now testing asymptomatic. So in other words, you could be walking around not having any symptoms and still perhaps be infecting your friends and family, your loved ones. So if you're interested in having a test today and tomorrow, that's an opportunity, and once again being provided by our National Guard, and we'd like to thank them for being out and for doing all of the testing that they're doing. Right now, the county is doing approximately just a little bit under 20 tests per day, and certainly that's giving us a lot of information as we try to get a feel for what all we need to do. And unfortunately, the death total in the county has now risen to 34, and statewide it is at 626. Racine just got put as one of the very top outbreaks in the country in terms of population. So we are certainly not out of the woods yet. So I just want to remind people of that a lot of times as things are opening up, that we may be under the misunderstanding that things are back to normal, and that is certainly not the case. I would like to talk a little bit about a new initiative that was announced this last week. It might have actually been late the week before, but I may have mentioned it. But the details on what's called the We're All In small business grants are kind of the details that are in. And these are grants of up to $2,500, not loans, but grants that will be given out to 30,000 small businesses in Wisconsin to help with the costs of business interruption, or health and safety improvements, wages and salaries, rent, mortgages, or inventory as a result of having to shut down or scale back. So the applications for these loans will be from June 15th through June 21st, and my office is certainly available if you have questions on that, but you can apply through WEDC at org/WAI Small Business Grant. I'm sure if you just go to WEDC that they will have a link. But this is important for businesses that are just trying to kind of get back on their feet. And the qualifications for that are you have to employ 20 or fewer full-time equivalent employees, including the owner. Has to have zero, but more than zero, but less than 1 million in annual inventories. Has to have been in business. Had to have been in business on February 20th. Not part of a national chain, and not covered by other Wisconsin CARES Act programs. So this is something that hopefully some of the people who have not been able to qualify for some of the previous grants and loan programs can certainly take advantage of. So I hope that a lot of our Kenosha small businesses are able to do that. So I wanted to get the word on that out as well. One thing that's a little bit different that I've been encouraging people to sign up for my e-newsletter, which we have been putting out a special e-newsletter just on coronavirus for the last more than a couple of months now. We've been doing it weekly, and our last one that we will be able to do will be this week, and that's not because information will not still be necessary, but we won't be able to put it out in the e-newsletter form because of what's called the Rule of 50 form that normally we wouldn't have been able to be doing this after April 15th because of election rules, but those rules were changed, and we've been able to do it for another short period of time to communicate with more than 50 people with the same the same literature. So the electronic literature is considered to be the same. That's the bad news, that if you've been signed up for the e-newsletter, you will not be receiving that e-newsletter. The good news is that we will still be publishing that information, perhaps on a weekly, perhaps a little bit less than that, but you would have to go to my Tod Ohnstad representative Facebook page, and I'll also have it on my regular page as well. But so look for that. Look for the e-newsletter not to be coming to your inbox, but also you'll have to go to my Tod Ohnstad legislative page on Facebook. Well, I'm not sure exactly what to say that's different than the last few weeks. I'm afraid that, one of the pitches that I've always made is to make sure that people who are having stresses about having to stay home more than they normally would, and stresses about perhaps contracting the virus, that if you need some help, don't hesitate to call. Or if you know somebody who needs some help, don't hesitate to give them a number to call, 1-800-985-5990, to have somebody to talk to. And our office is, of course, always available for that as well. And I just want to say something that, give my office staff a shout out for their work on unemployment. It's been really frustrating because despite the fact that we have successfully filled literally millions of applications for unemployment, that isn't very comforting to the 500,000 people that are probably still waiting. So this is as a result of some software that is over 50 years old, and the Republicans who have been in charge largely since 2010, during I think it was 2014, they refused to fund any new software for that, for the UI system, and also the number of changes, a dramatic number of changes that were done to kind of restrict UI under Governor Walker has made it more difficult. And of course, there's 600 or 700 times the number of people that normally try to access that system. Now the Department of Workforce Development has hired hundreds of people, and they've also transferred hundreds of people from other state agencies, and they've also hired a couple of call centers. But it still remains problematic, and we hope that some of the new things that they put in place make it less so. But in the meantime, our staff has been doing a lot of work in terms of trying to help steer people into the right way of applying for the UC, and also putting in inquiries for their particular individual cases to be reviewed as soon as possible. So I continue to encourage people to call my office in the event that they're having problems with employment or any state agency, and that telephone number is 608-266-0455. I'll just close on this note that this is far from over. The scene is just obviously a few miles away, and it's one of the hottest spots in the whole country. Our numbers, our death totals, and our positives continue to increase. So just remember, it's still very important to make sure that you're following some of the simple rules. Be careful of the social distancing. Keep a half a dozen feet apart or more. Make sure to wash your hands, and cover your face with a mask whenever possible. And remember that it's still safe for everyone. And, we're going to get through this. And it doesn't mean that you can't go out and do some yard work or some gardening or walk your dog or get some exercise. And, of course, the state parks are opening up this weekend as well. So get outside, get a little fresh air, but just remember to follow the rules and stay safe. Okay, hope to see you next week, Jason, and wish everybody a great weekend.